All right, back of another mock draft reaction. This is going to be a Pro Football Focus mock draft. This is Brad Spielberger, because again, people sometimes say PFF as if it's one entity. There are people who make content for it and have their own opinions. This is PFF Brad's his mock draft here. And, I like doing the PFF mock drafts because I feel like they very much, a lot of times, march to the beat of their own drum. They have a lot of different, different ideas about, certain things, which I think creates for unique discussion. Without further ado, let's get into it. Caleb Williams is number 1, and Drake May is number 2, which, at this point, it does almost feel like Drake May at number 2 is a hot take with how, so many people are now putting Daniels, and I've even seen Drake May, fall out of the top 10 altogether on certain mock drafts, and I've seen him on, predictive mock drafts still fall out of the top 3, so I'm with Brad here. These would be my top 2 players. Daniels does go at number 3, though, which is someone who, again, I'm not as high on Daniels as other people are, but I get it. I can understand the logic. It's something to build around. It's hope for New England. I understand it, even if it's not what I would do. Marvin Harrison Jr. going at number 4. This feels like, again, so far, kind of what you typically see. Here's where things get interesting. Okay, here we go. So the Chargers and Vikings make a trade, which kind of makes some sense. I've heard a lot of people talk about maybe the Patriots make a trade, but maybe they don't want the trade and they want a quarterback, in which case, no reason to trade with the Cardinals. They want Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's just, let them do their thing, and then trade with the Chargers, who could use some extra draft capital for sure. So they're getting both first-round picks this season and a third-round pick. Chargers have more than just one hole they need to fill up. The Vikings get a quarterback. I like it. I feel like a lot of these quarterback trades are, quite frankly, really dumb and stupid. This one is smart to me. I think this is a really well-done quarterback trade. It's hard to get the quarterback trade to fully make sense, but yeah, I'm on board. And I haven't seen this before, but this was smart. So well done there. Malik Neighbors going at 6 to the Giants. Yeah, if he's available, they're taking him, I think. Joe Alt at 7 to the Titans, and same thing. I think if he's available, they're taking him here. So far, I think I'm 7 for 7 on this mock draft. This is my favorite mock draft ever so far. We'll see if it continues. Dallas Turner, okay, well, it doesn't continue. But, again, Dallas Turner's basically been number 8 on every mock draft. It just feels like this is what they're doing. It's high for me for Dallas Turner. I think this is a bit, I know they need an edge rusher. I know you need an edge rusher. I just don't know if he's worth number 8 in a loaded, Rome Odunze is still on the board. I'm not saying you have to draft him because you have so much wide receiver talent and stuff like that. I'm not saying you can't draft him either, but I think a trade down would be the ideal scenario for Atlanta here. But again, there has to be someone who's willing to trade down. Maybe there's not, and you're like, we just want a player who's going to help us right now. I can understand the logic. It's just not what I would do. Odunze goes here at 9 to the Bears. Something I've seen a lot of is I have seen him fall a decent amount. If I'm a Bears fan, this is what I'm hoping happens. I think he'd be great for them and help make that receiving core not just good, but potentially loaded with Odunze. Talise Fuaga, yep, I believe I did this in my mock. It makes sense. You have some really old offensive linemen. Get a young guy who can play tackle if he has to, but also can play guard. So he's not just someone who's sitting on the bench the whole season. He is someone who you're drafting to help you out this year, and hopefully he doesn't have to help you out too much because your guys stay healthy. Troy Fuadu, still not sure exactly how to pronounce his name, unfortunately. I'm just not as high on as other people. 11 would be very high for me. Again, I get it. They want to get an offensive lineman, sure, but I don't know. Not the move I would make here. And whoa, a shocker, Brian Thomas Jr., number 12. I have not seen him go this high on any mock draft. Hey, this is how you gotta do the PFF mock drafts, right? They put different things in your head that you hadn't thought of. But it is interesting, right? I mean, what if someone is as high on Brian Thomas Jr. as Chris Sims is, right? And what if someone says, you know what? We feel like there's kind of I kind of feel like there's a top 3, then there's kind of a clear number 4, and then there's a bunch of other guys. So if you're like me and you think Brian Thomas Jr. is significantly better of a prospect than the other guys, I could see this happening. It's not a crazy take, and again, it would rely on, clearly they couldn't be that big on Bo Nix if they decide to go with this, and maybe they trade up, I don't know, but it's interesting. J.C. Latham for the Raiders. I still feel like, Fashanu's still on the board, right? So that seems like a bit of a... I like Latham a lot, though. I'm not criticizing it too much. Just wouldn't be my pick, I don't think. Yeah, I'd rather go with Fashanu. As a Buccaneers fan, I'm hoping the Saints do not get him because I think he'll be a very good pass blocker for them. Quinyon Mitchell, and every mock draft we've done has gone to the Colts, it feels like. Graham Barton going to the Seahawks. Yeah, this is another one I've seen a lot. Could be a good, interior offensive lineman for them. So they're kind of, Brad is seeing him more of as a guard. I've always thought Barton was more of a center, but we'll see. Okay, Jaguars go with Terrion Arnold. Again, kind of the other thing I've seen people have them do is go after like a Brian Thomas Jr., but he's gone. Can't do that. So going after corner probably makes sense. Brock Bowers at 18. This is a massive slide for Brock Bowers. I didn't even realize he hadn't been selected yet, but this feels late for him. And and Brad even says in the thing like it would become a surprise. I believe that. Brings up Dalton Kincaid, but Dalton Kincaid was not considered a prospect that Brock Bowers was, and I don't think Dalton Kincaid was the prospect Brock Bowers was. Dalton Kincaid was also really good as a rookie. I think that I'd be shocked if he falls to 18. I think Bengals fans would be very thrilled if they get him at 18. Byron Murphy, yeah, I like this for the Rams. Get him next to Kobe Turner. That could be awesome. I have seen that before. I think a lot of people are having them go edge, but I could see this as well. Armarius Mims, sure, get it to offensive lineman to the Steelers. Like that pick a lot. We then have Johnny Newton, which is not how I see his name usually, his first name usually put up on most sites. But Newton, the Illinois interior defensive lineman, who, again, I think this is the round when he'll get drafted. I don't hate this at all. I think he's a really good player. I think this makes sense to me. The Johnny Newton threw me off, though. I was like, who's that? Definitely a very good player. Xavier Worthy, wow, to the Eagles. This feels like a kind of a bit of a reach for me personally. Maybe Brad is just a bigger fan of Worthy than I am personally. I think they could use a receiver. I don't think receiver is this pressing need either. It is, if you have enough receivers, go out and get some more. Receivers are really good. Receivers are really valuable. You need them to win. And, when they had the injuries last year, they really, they need depth in that position. I just don't know if that's like first round, number one priority. Again, if Worthy was the best player available, I'd say go for it. I don't think he's the best player available, but maybe Brad does. So maybe that's why he made that move. Cooper DeJean to the Chargers. Sure, they could definitely use corner. That makes sense to me. They could use a lot of things defensively. I would probably rather Leyu Latu, but him going to the Cowboys is, again, a bit of a surprise. I don't know if this is exactly what they need, but hey, again, if you have enough edge rushers, I guess go out and get some more. They could have, because as Brad points out, seems like a replacement for DeMarcus Lawrence. It is worth mentioning that, more than two edge rushers play football, right? So having a great third edge rusher could still be helpful. I don't know. I don't know if he falls this far. I also don't know if Dallas ignores some of their big needs and makes this pick. That being said, if I'm Dallas, I would not hate this draft if it happens this way. I would not be mad at it. Moving on to the Green Bay Packers, Tyler Guyton, which, again, feels a bit like a drafting a bit high for need situation. But, again, some people really like Guyton. It depends on how you feel about him. I don't know. It's a bit of a, we're hoping we can coach him up, which Green Bay has done in the past. So maybe not the worst. Wouldn't be a bad fit. I'll say that. Nate Wiggins to the Bucs totally makes sense. He definitely could be an interesting player. Maybe you could argue, doesn't he kind of have a similar skill set to Jamel Dean? Would you rather someone with a more of a different skill set? Maybe, but they really need a corner. At some point, they're going to have to address corner. First round would be a good time to do it. Jared Verse to the Cardinals, a guy the Buccaneers could draft. Again, Cardinals have so many needs. Kind of feels like they should go best player available. Verse would be a good player here. Some people have Verse going a lot higher, even like top 10 on some boards. I am not one of those people. I think around here feels more appropriate. That's how I would do it. A.D. Mitchell, the wide receiver out of Texas. Again, a couple different first names throw me off a little bit. But Mitchell, again, good player. I think the Bills could use a receiver. The only question is this a bit of a reach? Could you get other receiving talents later in the draft? But to be honest, you don't have to only draft wide receiver in round 1 and then you're done. You could draft the receiver in round 2 as well. So I see the logic behind it. Number 29, Kool-Aid McKinstry for the Lions, which I would just love this pick if they did it. I think it would be really smart. Again, huge Kool-Aid McKinstry fan. I think he's really good, and the Lions could really, I think they should address corner. Like, that's still, yes, they have addressed it, but like, it's the kind of thing where if you have 3 corners, you don't have enough. You need a bunch of guys in the room. Like, that's part of how Baltimore always has good secondaries, is they just always have so many guys. That's how the Patriots had good secondaries over the years, is they just always had like 7 guys who could play. Like, go out and get some more players when it was a position of weakness. Totally the right move. You then have, this is an interesting one. So this is definitely a bit of a reach. Kingsley Sumatea. I don't know. That's a surprise to me. I maybe need to give him a deeper evaluation. But every now and then on these mock drafts, you get some players who I haven't done a super deep dive on late in the draft. So we'll see. Listen, it could happen, but I need to do a deeper dive there. Ladd McConkey to the 49ers is interesting. I've seen this a couple times, actually, which to me, the 49ers do not need a wide receiver, but at the same time, like, you know, they could use another guy, right? They certainly could. I mean, you think about that as such a strength of their roster, the wide receiving core, but at the same time, like, yeah, you could use another guy. Brad's saying maybe it could be a potential replacement, but maybe just someone gets injured. Like, having, you know, a number of receivers is still very valuable. So, you know, him being the number 3 receiver would make a lot of sense. He's sure to have Kittle, but, you know, he would be number 3. I guess, you know, their 4th option or 5th option if you count running backs too. But still, guys are going to get hurt. Having depth there at your most valuable position kind of makes some sense. And then Troy Franklin to the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm just not crazy about Troy Franklin. I don't think there's other players I'd rather have, and I don't think they need to go wide receiver here necessarily. So, yeah, that's my analysis. That's my reaction to this mock draft, which I would say as a whole was an entertaining very entertaining mock draft, which is the goal. Some really good moves. I loved the beginning of this mock draft. Had some critiques as the draft went along, but that's how it's going to go. I can't agree with every take that it's 32 takes, right? I'm not going to agree with all of them. But yeah, those are my thoughts on all of this. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.